Hello there, I'm David. Today we are going to be doing a tutorial on using the humble old iPhone or humble new iPhone for shooting video. They're great devices because you can have them anywhere with you. You ask yourself the question, what do I take with me? Do I always have a camera with me or do I always have a phone with me? Most people will say, I always have a phone with me. And if you've got a phone that's a fairly good quality, you can pull it out, you can switch it onto your camera, and you can switch it on to video, and you can start shooting pretty good HD video. There's a few tricks you need to be able to hold this thing steady because the built-in gyro in the latest mobile devices makes them very sensitive to so a good thing to do is hold it fairly close to your body. And then be quite precise about what you want to shoot. We're going to be shooting a little bit about the bike today. If you're going to shoot something in a workshop, if you're going to shoot something on site, make sure you're either in daylight or you've got even a normal incandescent or LED light shining on your subject so that you can talk. I reckon we've got enough material here now to be able to play around and do this lesson. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to import our video footage. So plug in the iPhone or your Android, or if it's a camera, plug in your camera. Then pop it into the USB port. I'm going to plug it into my iPhoto program. When iPhoto comes up, like your media viewer in Windows will come up. It will read what is on the hard drive of the phone. I don't know if you can see it here, but here it's saying David Smouha's iPhone. It's coming up with some of the footage that I just took. It's taking a moment to mount it all. So I've selected the clips that I want to import, and I'm just going to call it Premiere Pro tutorial. It's a good idea to actually take time to organise your media because your media has to be organised before you import it into your editing program. And that's regardless of whether it's iPhoto or Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro. We've got 11 items that I've imported, which is great. Now that I've got Premiere Pro open, I'm going to import. So File drop-down menu. Go to import, and up will come the import interface. Now I've got my things on the desktop in Premiere Pro tutorial, and for ease of viewing, rather than putting in a folder, because the folder will just open up yet another interface, I'm going to put them in just as a list. So when they come in over here, you'll see that they've been dragged in and they're there as a list. Okay, now that we have our list imported, you'll see that we have video here, and just by pressing the space bar, double clicking that, then pressing the space bar, and then be quite precise about what you want to shoot. We're going to be shooting, so you can see that's video. This is a still image here. So still image by default is set at 5 seconds. So each one of those still images will just be 5 seconds. And this is a little bit more video. Low light, a bit of a no-no. Now, let's just reiterate over these workspaces. So this space here, where we have got the preview of the videos and stills, that is your bin, or your media browser, where the media is kept. And we have sequence 1 here, which is what we build along this part that is with all the lines at the bottom, the blank part, that is called our timeline. So when we choose and isolate what we want to do, we're going to drag and drop it onto the timeline. And this third or fourth area over here is the program sequence. So that is what we're actually ending up with. This is the previewer, and that's what we're ending up with. Let's start with that first video. Let's wind it back. Now, to get an endpoint on the video, you've got these lines here where you can set mark in and mark out. See how it's got I for mark in and O for mark out? So it's actually easier to use the I and the O keys on your keyboard. So I'm going to press I at the very beginning for my endpoint. Start shooting pretty good HD video. There we are. We're just going I and O there. We're going to use most of that. The reason I'm doing most of that is at the beginning, you can see that I'm fairly wobbly, and when I tell you to hold it closer to your body, that's when I actually pulled the camera closer to my body, and you saw how then the actual video stabilized. So just for a learning process, that's worth bearing in mind. Change sequence settings. Yeah, let's change the sequence settings. Now, let's not put any more video in for now. Let's grab one of those stills of the bike. This one looks like a good one. So just double click. There it is in the timeline. We don't know how long we want it. If we drag the whole thing down, it's going to come by default for 5 seconds, but it's not going to have any soundtrack underneath it. So because we were lacking in a bit of decent video footage at the end of that last sequence, I'm going to grab it again and bring it down and just put it over the top so that it's not a silent layer. So you'll see here now. So there we have it. A bit of a bike. A bit of the gearbox to the bike. Not the gearbox, the gear chain. You see, it doesn't really fit, but then we're just doing a quick tutorial here today. I'm going to put a cross dissolve. So you may have seen what I did then. I came to my media browser here. I've got the devices on my computer that I can browse. I've got information on the videos, and I've got effects. So I'm going into my effects, and I'm going into video transitions as an effect, and I'm just going to grab a cross dissolve and put a cross dissolve on the very front of that still image, and I'm also going to put a cross dissolve on the beginning of the video, so it just doesn't start up cold. It actually comes into it in a nice gentle fashion. Start shooting pretty good HD video. The other thing that I wanted to go through with you very quickly is the ability to do titles. Up here in the file menu at the top, you'll see title. You can go for a new title. You can go for a roll, a still, or a crawl. Today, let's just do a roll. And it's going to be called Title 2 because I did one earlier. Now, it comes up and shows you where it's actually going to be, wherever you scrub the play head to. I think we'll just call this one Working on a Bike. So we'll come up for a fairly small one. And we will just click in here. And we'll go and click in the center so that it types, center justified. And we'll just call Working on a Bike. Now what happens, you're previewing it there live as to where it is going to go. And if you like that, then you can just close it. And here it appears as Title 2. And just click on it. And you can edit it if you need to. Or then you just drag it directly from there onto the timeline over the top of your existing footage. So start shooting pretty good HD video. There's a few tricks you need to be able to hold. Well, see, we do need to go back and edit that one. See, there's no T on tutorial. You watch what happens now. It's going to live edit, and it will put a T. And I put the T there, but I shouldn't have pressed enter. There we go. See how it's fixed it? You've picked it in the preview, and it's actually fixed it on the video itself. Start shooting pretty good HD video. There's a few tricks you need to be able to hold. Okay, we won't go over that again and again. Now, what you need to do, we've got this sequence made. You come to sequence, and here you'll see in the sequence settings, you can render the entire work area. We're going to do that. Once it is rendered, you can then export it using the Adobe Media Encoder, and it will export it as a video. Pretty good HD video. There's a few tricks. That's for checking up. You can go through and check up, but for want of time, we're going to go straight to export, export media, and the Adobe Media Encoder will come up. Now, it's come up with a rather huge selection here. It's got 1920 by 1080. we would like to change that. Now the sequence we're going to call bike tutorial. Bike tutorial. So we're going to save that. We're going to export video, and now the video settings. We've got H.264. You see video settings here? We're going to scroll down, and I want to change the size. See this little lock thing here? That's going to keep the aspect ratio the same. The aspect ratio is wide angle. Whoops. 1280 there, and press the enter key. It automatically goes to 720. Now it's got the US frame rate of 29.7. We're going to put the Australian of 25. It's saying it's interlaced footage, and it wants to do it with the upper order first. You can go progressive. I'm going to go progressive, and it's doing in square pixels, which is what we want. It's ready to export. So let's just click on the export. It's a very fast render engine, this Adobe one. And this will appear in your Documents folder. The head of the Documents folder, you'll find an Adobe folder. And in that Adobe folder, you'll find the Premiere is one of the folders within that. You open the Adobe Premiere folder, and you will see bike training sequence there as our sequence. There we are, that's done. Now, let's open our Finder and go to Documents. There's Adobe, as I told you it would be there. There's Premiere Pro, Premiere Pro 6, and here we have bike tutorial.
Start shooting pretty good HD video. There's a few tricks you need to be able to hold this thing steady, because the built-in gyro in the latest mobile devices makes them very sensitive to so good thing to do is hold it fairly close to your body, and then be quite precise about what you want to shoot. We're going to be shooting...
Okay, well that's it. I'm going to quit this tutorial now, and we're going to get back to some real life teaching. So let's get ready to move on with our projects. I'm David Smouha. Hope you have got the basics out of this, and this is here online for you to come back to and brush up on the things that you need to know.